Okay, julle, hier is nog 'n Brulback. Maar die ene is ons nogal exciting ene, en hierdie enetjie is die ene wat ons op die Discord doen. Maar vanaand, julle het daai video gekyk op daai voice note wat ek vir julle gestuur het. Vanaand dra ons hierdie enetjie op vir klein Arno. Ek las so 'n bietjie wat Elma van hom vertel, daai voice note gaan ek inlas in die podcast. So maar ek dink ons doen vir hom 'n bietjie enetjie. Of wat dink julle?
Ja, Niels, ek dink dit is 'n goeie idee. Sien net dat ons dit opdra aan Arno. Ja, nee, definitief. Laat hy 'n voice note in.
Yeah, it was quite a heart-wrenching story to listen to, not going to lie, but I would say all the more reason, where we can support, let's support.
Okay, reg julle. Ons begin hom. Vanaand se podcast dra ons op vir Arno Geldenhuys. En ons wil 'n bietjie awareness maak vir hom. So ons gaan bietjie vir Elma 'n kans gee om net ietsie te sê. En asseblief mense, ek gaan by haar toestemming vra om die banking details op te sit. Die ouetjie het financial, sy pa maak koop nie lekker nie. So daar 'n korte geldjie en dan as jy vir my 'n video wil maak vir my 'n video. Ons sal Elma se nommer opsit, so stuur dit vir hom. Bemoedig hom met 'n bietjie.
Goeienaand almal. My naam is Elma. Ek is die tannie van Arno Geldenhuys. Niels het so 'n bietjie gepraat oor Arno die laaste ruk. Arno is 9 jaar oud. Hy het op die 1 Desember 40% brandwonde opgedoen in 'n fratsongeluk met 'n petrolkan. Hy is deurgejaag eers na Life Robinson Hospitaal toe. Hulle het nie 'n brandeenheid gehad nie, toe moes hulle hom oorplaas na Laratong toe. Laratong het nie 'n brandeenheid, sy brandeenheid was vol, ekskuus tog. Hulle brandeenheid was vol en hy is oorgeplaas na Baragwana Hospitaal. Arno is al van die 1 Desember af in die hospitaal. Hy het vele operasies gehad, veloorplantings ensovoorts. Hy het in Desember 'n vergroesel in sy lugweg gekry wat hy nie kon asemhaal nie, wat hulle pyp moes afforceer tot in sy longe in om asem te kry, want daar het geen asem deurgegaan as gevolg van die groesel nie. Daar is net 20 chirurge in Suid-Afrika wat daai operasie kan doen om daai vergroesel uit te haal. Die een chirurg werk by die nuwe hospitaal net keer in Alberton. Maar hy doen ook werk by Charlotte Masheki of soos ander mense dit ken, Joburg Gen. Hy is oorgeplaas na Joburg Gen toe per helikopter in Desember. Dit was 'n baie traumatiserende ervaring in Joburg Gen vir hom. Hy het nie sy verbande geruil nie en toe hy daar uitkom, toe ons hom eventueel weer terugskuif Baragwana toe weeg hy maar 14.5 kg. So hy het baie hy's baie afgeskep, hy's nie gevoer nie. Hy het 'n baie slegte ervaring by Joburg Gen gehad. Ons kon hom terug oorgeplaas kry per ambulans na Paraguay toe en daar het hulle hom weer reg gekry. Hy weeg daar nou weer 26 kg. So toe hy begin het toe hy die eerste keer hospitaal toe was hy 29 kg geweg. Die vergroeisel, hy was vir die operasie gewees. Maar hy is nog op hoë suurstof.
En ek moet ook dan sê die ouens van Rugby Box, hulle het vir hom 'n Rugby Box gesponsor. Hy's op pad na hom toe, so hy hoef nie meer in die bed daar te lê met niks om te doen nie. Hy gaan 'n bietjie kan rugby speel met sy brand new Rugby Box.
Ja, dis wonderlik, Niels, dis wonderlik in die daai my maat.
Moya, can you hear us?
Yes, sorry, I can. Yeah, sorry, I just missed the last part.
I was saying that Rugby Box sponsored them for him a box, so you can play in the hospital. Yes, yeah, the deal was done today. And they wanted to deliver it with Mornay staying himself, but because he's in hospital, I don't think he's going to be allowed there. It's only the parents.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially with high care and that they are quite strict with who's allowed in and who's not.
Yes, that's the thing. But we're glad that they came on board and gave him a box. So yeah, and he loves rugby, so now he can play his rugby still in the hospital bed until he gets better. Gets better.
No, absolutely, and I think that's part of the beauty of the game itself, right? Is that it does allow for that. So even where it's not possible to be out there on the field, you're still able to actually engage in some rugby. Rather than where you just feel like you're watching. Here you're an active participant.
Ja, en die man wat hom develop het juist vir kinders begin doen, vir development en sulke goed. So ek dink hy gaan dit appreciate dat die ouetjie daar gaan sit en dit gaan hom bietjie motiveer om môreoggend op te staan en nog harder te fight, want hy fight nou al lank. Maar dit gaan dit bietjie makliker maak.
Yeah, exactly.
Reg, julle dan wil ek inspring op 'n ander ding sommer gou as ons hier moet wegtrek. Julle het gesien op die groep, ek sien Sergio is gekoop, hy gaan ons verlaat. Nou my vraag is soos altyd, ou wil nie dit hê nie, nee. Jy wil nie hê dat jou spelers moet weggaan nie. Maar tog, dan doen jy iets reg. Want as jou unie nie perform nie, of jou spelers nie perform nie, gaan hulle nie raak gesien word en gekoop word nie. Of hoe dink julle daaroor?
100% Niels. I mean it's the same with the other players that's now been called up to the mock training camp. If the guys doesn't perform and the guys doesn't shape, they will not be noticed, and obviously not get the offers from overseas or from wherever. I think it's a great compliment to the Lions team that they play in the kind of rugby that actually excites the fans as well as the scouts from overseas and other teams.
Ja, nee, ek stem. Yes, Moya, you can go.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I quite agree with that. And really, I think it's the ultimate compliment to our team that, whether it's good times or bad times, our players are sought after. The sad thing is, we have constant conversations about players leaving, but the good news is that we have players that other unions, especially where you're having European teams looking for our guys. That's a very good sign. That is a very, very good sign. But it does mean long term we need to work on being financially well off enough that if we wanted to keep him, we'd be like, no, you're not going to France because you want money. Fine, here's money, stay.
Ja, en daai is die ding, nee. Jy moet jou goeie spelers ook kan hou. Jy kan nie net verkoop jou spelers en met wie sit jy oor nie. En dit bring my na die ding toe ons gesien het daai 5 leeu's wat op bokke toe is. Ek het nou lanklik gesê en mooi jy kan onthou wat ek gesê het. Ek hoop jy daar kom gou springbokke uit ons span uit nie, sodat ons span kan bou. En nou skielik is ons springbokke, ons spelers word gekoop. En Arno sê jy is nie 'n ou wat vir ons 3-4 seisoene gespeel het nie. Of soos Marius Lou, Odendal. Gekom het van die Bulls op eers oor see terug na ons toe en hy het mal gegaan en toe koop hulle hom weer. Dit is nie Arno Sergio hy's 'n newbie by ons en skielik daar gat hy. Phew.
Yeah, no, I think he definitely put his hand up, and I think it's wonderful as well. Where I honestly think if he had stuck with us for another season or two, he'd definitely be in the conversation there. Because it's tricky with loose forwards because there's a lot of really quality loose forwards in the country, but really he was showing that we had a good headache, or we have a good headache in terms of selection around loose forwards.
You're right. The thing is, as you quite rightly say, there is some excellent loose forwards in the country at the moment. That's besides the ones that's playing overseas already. So, I think, the Springbok selectors are spoiled for choice as far as the loose forwards are concerned. And I think, the cream of the crop at the end of the day will be there, and I'm sure they will. Even the guys that are playing overseas will now take notice of the guys that's local because they're sticking up their hands and they're forming. So your guys that's playing overseas will have to jack up their game to be in contention.
Yeah.
Kom Eugene, maar Frankie kyk, hy man staan al op 'n step ladder, nee, so hoog steek hy sy hand op. Wanneer word hy raak gesien?
Niels, that's a very good question. I mean, we all can ask, what more has you got to do to be seen or to be recognized? It's sad, to say the least, because, he's playing excellent rugby at the moment. That Russie and them can't see him is beyond me, really. It's beyond me. I cannot fathom that one out.
That's quite the unfortunate one, really, because this strikes me as one of those cases where the coach just is like, look, this guy, it might not even matter what he does. Rusty might be sitting there being like, I just don't see you in my game plan. And if I don't see you in my game plan, even if you impress, it's like, well, yeah, but I'm not going to be able to, remold you to do what I need you to do. Because I'm thinking about it, and he ticks all the right boxes. And I say, especially as a Bok impact player, because he's a very solid defender. But on top of that, he's an intelligent runner. He's good in the line out. He's good over the ball. all those boxes are ticked, and I'm like, that. This is a guy who, in my opinion, should have that Bobby Skinstad role of old, where you bring him on in the second half, and he'll be able to do runs that will complement some of our bigger runners, but also he can link up with the backline very, very well. To my mind, he's what we need as a linking sort of forward. The problem is I honestly don't know if Russie has any space for a player of that build at the moment. And if he doesn't, the hope is that he will soon, but I honestly don't know.
I think that's the thing. Gaan maar Eugene, gaan maar.
Yeah, you see, Moyo, I hear what you're saying. I mean, if you look at, can you imagine? You've got guys like Kwaha, you've got Peter Sef the Toy, and you imagine bringing up Kwaha and Frankie on in the second half as impact players. Both excellent runners, both very good over the ball. They fight for the ball and they really battle it out. They're huge impact players, both of them.
Yeah.
Can you imagine those two guys playing together? Your second half. I think that will be a sight to be seen.
Yeah. No, agreed. And one thing that pops into my head is that the fact that Franco Horn and Hachiva Daimane are both not in the squad says, that type of player might not have a chance at the moment. But just the prospect that you just brought up would be magic, absolutely magic.
The last time that we used a player like that was Warren Whiteley, and there was a few tests, and then it was also out of the window.
Yeah.
But when history repeats itself, we did it with Heinrich Bessow. That guy could have played massive ball games. We lost him. C.S. Thunder was thought he was too small, and he went on to be a legend for another country. So I hope we don't waste Frankie Horn. For even if he gets a contract, say for somebody like Toulon, I think he's gone. He will be gone. He won't think twice.
Yeah.
Saracens or even that top dogs, then Frankie's gone.
Yeah, agreed.
The thing is, as I said earlier on, that your current overseas players, your loose forwards. I mean, those guys, has really got to jack up their game. Because there's young guys that's knocking on the door, and they're knocking very hard. I agree. I mean, if Frankie gets an offer from, does not really matter which side overseas, he's gone, and that will be not only a loss for the Lions but also a loss for South Africa. I think, if he goes overseas, and he plays for one of the top teams, maybe Rassie will then see him and think, this guy will fit in with my way of playing and my game plan. Who knows? You never know. It will basically be South Africa's gain, but it will be the Lions' loss.
Yeah.
Ja, en ons almal weet die Europa spanne, die self Japaneese spanne, daai kant hulle bied groot geld aan vir Suid-Afrikaners, groot geld. Ons hier kan nie regtig kompeteer met daai euros en daai klas van geld. En selfs Amerika, hulle rugby raak groot. Hulle is besig om 'n nasie te raak wat hulle rugby ontgin van skoollewe af. Nie net met American football nie, hulle invest in rugby. Jy sien dit in hulle sewes ook. Maar dan dink ek by myself soos Frankie nou. Gaan 'n ou regtig by die Lions bly, loyaal bly en jy weet jy word nie raak gesien vir Springbok nie. Of gaan jy maar oor kan gaan waar die geld is. En jy kan nie so ou blame nie. Dis hartseer, maar jy kan nie blame dat hy vir homself 'n beter toekoms gaan maak nie. Jy kan nie.
Niels, jy is 100% reg. Jy weet ek meen as jy kyk na Sergio, ek meen hy word 3 keer meer aangebied as in Suid-Afrika. Ek meen dit is groot geld. Dit is groot geld. Jy weet en ek meen rugby spelers se loopbaan is ook net so lank. So as jy vir jouself 'n goeie toekoms wil bewerkstellig vir jou en jou gesin, jy gaan speel oor see, gaan maak die geld daar en jy is basies gesettel vir life. Waar in Suid-Afrika sal jy baie langer moet speel om daai tipe geld te verdien.
Yes, and that's what most people, they don't understand that, né? Because if you're a sports star or you're a musician or a singer or whatever, you're in the arts industry, you don't get a payslip. So you can't take out a home loan. You can't really take out insurance. You can't get a pension fund. You have to do it on your own. You don't have an employer that helps you with that. You have to do everything on your own. So that guys, you maybe you have like 15 years or 25 if you're lucky, career in rugby, and in that 25 years you must build a nest egg that can last you until the day you maybe leave this earth at 90 or whatever, because you can't prepare until just 60 or just 70. You don't know. Maybe God bless you and you live to get 100 years old. So you still have to. Those people. Yeah, they get huge salaries because they don't have the security that we do in the 9 to 5 jobs.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you know, I think something there that always, gets me thinking is that apart from the money, some players might also figure, hey, you know what? This is a good way, for example, for not just their own future, but if they have children and that, their children's future, where children can go experience different schooling, all the rest of it. But also, you know, you'll be getting that schooling while getting paid in that currency. You know, if you're trying to now send a child overseas with the rand, and you know, and the currency is superior elsewhere, that's going to be a problem. But on top of that, even in terms of just building their own rugby, some players might say, hey, you know what, let's go to a place that's got a different rugby philosophy. You know, let's grow my play there. So, for example, if you're going and playing in the UK, you know the wet conditions, you know all those, like that rugby that you really have to grind out a win because it's all muddy and thick. You know that. So if and when you come back, you know, the hope is that you'll be a more attractive prospect to national coaches, because you can say, hey, you know what, I know the conditions. You know, if we're playing against these overseas teams, I know how they think because I've been thinking like them for how many years now.
Quite right, and I mean Niels touched on the subject a little bit earlier on. Japan is becoming a big attraction for local players. I mean, if you look at Colby and so on, that's playing over in Japan. I mean, those guys are earning mega bucks. And you know, the other thing is that you know, you go and play over. You know, your children is in top quality schools. You know, they get international qualification or schooling, and you know, they basically form themselves to get a very good job, or you know, go to a very good university, after matric, and they were basically securing the future of their children by going to play overseas. Does not matter if it's Europe, America, or Japan. It does not matter.
No, agreed.
Wat skokkend is, as jy kyk hoeveel ouetjies uit matriek uitstap en oor see gaan. Either Italië toe of die of daai. Ouetjies wat nou matriek klaar gemaak het, hulle gaan speel nie varsity cup nie, hulle gaan speel nie club rugby nie, hulle gaan speel nie jong provinsiale span onder 19s nie. Hulle gaan direk oor see. 10 jaar later dan het hy sy burgerskap daarso en hy speel vir daai land. Nou, hoekom hou ons nie sulke ouetjies nie? Wat is fout met ons development dat ons nie daai tipe ouetjies hier hou nie?
Niels, dit is baie goeie vraag. Ek meen as jy nou kyk na Dwayne van wat nou vir Skotland speel. Wat 'n impak speel is daai lady? Ek meen goeie genade. Ek meen hy's groot, hy's vinnig, hy's sterk. En hy's 'n game changer hoor. En ek meen dis iemand wat ons verloor het. Ek meen, kan jy imagine as ons hom altyd in Suid-Afrika. Dit maak nie saak vir watter span hy speel nie. En hy speel vir die Springbokke. Goeie genade. Ek sit erom te dink watter mense gaan hom stop.
I think part of the issue that South Africa might have literally is just, and it's a good problem to have in a lot of ways, but it does mean that we're going to lose a lot of players, is that there's a lot of rugby players. There's a lot of rugby players. And one thing that always pops into my mind is this. Even where we think of something like Craven Week, if all provinces are represented in Craven Week, that's that's already, I want to say, 270 players. And there's still players then who would be unlucky to have not made Craven Week. And that might influence their decision to go overseas, especially if scouts are like, hey, look, you didn't get picked for this, but come through. Or even if they did get picked for Craven Week, still, a scout might say, hey, listen, your best bet at a financially secure future is go to Montpellier or go to this place, go to that place. And with so many players in the country, the conveyor belt is so strong that there's players who vanish at all levels, and but there's still a healthy pipeline of people that come through.
Amoya, but don't you think then something that Jake White said a couple of months or maybe more than a year ago, he said if you leave for another country, you play there, then you're not supposed to be picked for the Springboks. Do you think that will work then if you say to the guys, listen, if you chase the money, then you won't wear the green and gold, because of green and gold. Otherwise, then you make it open and everybody can just come and play. But then the guys that are stuck here, take that wage cut and do the hard yards to wear that jersey, then they don't get seen because the other guy is there in Europe or wherever, he gets seen.
Yeah, look, I can say I did quite like the rule that where was it 30 caps? I think we said as the initial rule. Where fine, if you have 30 caps, you can play overseas and you can still be selected, but otherwise, no. And I understand the overturning of that, especially in the bill to 2019, because Rusty probably felt he didn't have much time. But a part of me wants to say, now where he's had a while, it would be good if, because again, if you bring in that rule, you still have Kwaka, Peter Steptoe, Colby, all these guys available to you because they have over 30 caps. But I agree, it's important to make sure that the people who are playing locally are rewarded for that. And that brings me back to the point we were making about loose forwards, right? And just players in general, because if local players are putting their hands up, people who are based overseas will probably then feel like, oh, you know what, maybe I should come back, because if I can come back and make an impact for Lions, Bulls, Stormers, Sharks, Cheetahs, then the Bok coach will be like, yeah, okay, cool, let's pick you.
But the thing we see now is, excuse me, Jean, Sanma?
There's someone else.
The thing that we see now is guys have, let's say, 30 caps. They're overseas, they just come back because my name is this, and I've been good 2 years ago. So I get picked, and the guy that's doing the hard yards here in South Africa, he doesn't get seen. That's the problem. Then you go to New Zealand. If you go outside, you won't get picked for that squad. You won't. Then they get that Sabbath. Even if you're Dan Card at that time, Richie McCoy, you don't care. If you come back, you start at club rugby. You work your way up to Super Rugby, and then you maybe get selected. It's not about your name, what you've done for 5 years, 2 years ago. It's for what you're doing now.
Niels, yeah, no, I agree. Look, it is a catch-22 situation. You know, I mean, players playing purely on name overseas, you know, and having performed in the last World Cup. We must remember one thing. The conditions overseas is not similar to the conditions locally. And the guys locally that's really, really working their butt off, doing the hard yards, week in, week out, you know, not earning the best salaries available. There's basically being discriminated against those guys because your overseas players are basically playing on reputation and name. But now, it's virtually impossible to monitor each and every single player overseas. You know, watch their games and how they perform. You know, to be selected basically for the Springbok squad. My philosophy is bring back the old trial system. Okay, where your players from overseas and locally, you pick two sides, they play against each other. You play against each other, you know, for 2-3 days, you know, and they make changes, and eventually at the end of the day, you know, you get you guys like Frank Yuan playing against a guy like Kwaha or Peter Steph the Toy, and see how he performs in a situation like that against good opposition, or against a player that's basically fighting for the same spot as he is. And I think that system will, at the end of the day, bear fruit for the simple reason that you will then have your best players available for trials, and at the end of the day, you can basically compare apples with apples, and not apples with pears.
Yeah, that could be quite an interesting way of going about it. My only worry is the timing of the trials. Like when do you slot them in, considering the schedule? But I suppose an argument can be made for, instead of doing an alignment camp, you do trials. Then from there you do camps for for the players who are in the conversation.
Correct, 100%.
Ja, met Gene ek stem met hom saam, daai. Laat die en met die Karibeker, ek is bly dat die Karibeker nou gaan begin kom met die tweede divisie ouens. saam met ons inkom op die eerste divisie aantas. Saam met ons inkom dat hulle blootstelling kan gee. Ons het gesien die Griffins het die Bulls gewen in die Currie-beker laas jaar. Hulle het gewys hulle kan. Hulle het nie verder as dit gekom nie, maar daar was 'n paar close games. Dis hulle eerste keer terug in die Currie-beker. Maak dit een helse Currie-beker. Ons het genoeg spelers in Suid-Afrika om dit aan die gang te hou. Die Leeu's is 'n groot genoeg unie om 'n Currie-beker span en 'n Challenge Cup span en 'n URC span te hê. Maklik. Die Bulls nog beter, die Sharks, hulle kan dit doen. Die Stormers kan dit doen. Maar dan gaan jy die Cheetahs het nie veel diepte nie. So die Cheetahs, hulle gaan 'n kans kry om ook dan so te kompeteer want hulle kry nie die game time wat ons kry, ons groter unies nie. So as jy nie teen 'n ander span speel nie, gaan jy nie regtig beter word nie. As jy 5 spanne bymekaar doen en speel mekaar heeltyd. Dis wat nou gebeur met die Super Rugby, Nieu-Seeland en Australië, hulle raak verveeld met mekaar, hulle raak nie beter nie. Hulle stagneer nou, want hulle doen dieselfde ding oor en oor. So, dis vir my 'n goeie ding dat alles nou bymekaar gegooi word en daar's Matthew Proudfoot nou, of Matt Proudfoot, hy's by die Leipers nou. Hy gaan hulle coach, het julle dit gesien?
Ja. Ja, dis weet wat ek nou wou gesê het. Ek Matthew Proudfoot is nou by die Leipers. Harvey is by Boland. Jy weet, en dit kan nie daai spanne goed doen. Ek kan onthou 'n paar jaar terug. Al 'n hele paar jaar. SWD. Toe Stefan der Blanche nog vir SWD gespeel het. SWD was een van die komende spanne gewees in Suid-Afrikaanse rugby. En boem, waar was hulle vandag? Dieselfde grens. En dieselfde boopie. Weet jou spanne wat op 'n stadium verskriklik goed gedoen het in het sy die Currie-beker of daai jaar die Sportpinaar. Ek meen daai spanne is net verlore. Ek meen hulle weet ja, dit is 'n voedingsbron vir groter unies, maar daai unies lê daaronder. En dis vir my nie reg nie. Ek meen as jy wil weet goeie rugby speel, dan moet al jou unies ondersteun word en hulle moet kans kry om teen groter unies te speel om ondervinding op te bou.
Dit is al jy jouself gaan meet, dis jouself gaan verryk. Jy moet jouself meet, jy moet koppe stamp met daai span om te sien waar is jy en hoe kan jy verbeter. En die coaches se kant, die spelers se kant ook.
Nee, is 100% reg. Ja, Neil, jy weet, ek meen ek kan nou 'n bietjie oor hulle in jare, maar weet ek kan onthou ek nie jaar toe Dani Gerber vir OP gespeel het. Ek meen goeie genade. Ek meen Sepaka wat ek dink hy het van die grens af gekom. Jy weet ek meen daai dae is verlore. Ek meen as jy kyk weet die rugby stadions in Oos-London. Ek meen daai ding is in sy kanonne. Dit is sad om dit te sien en ek meen dieselfde met Boland Park in Wellington. En daai ek meen die Boland Cavaliers. Ek meen ek kan onthou ek het hoeveel wedstryde gesien waar die Boland Cavaliers dan kom daai ou op sy perd met hierdie Cavalier vlag. Dis dinge wat verlore is. En ek weet ons is so trots op rugby tradisie in Suid-Afrika. En ongelukkig jou kleiner en ek meen as jy vat hier baie jare terug. Jy spanne gehad so Stellaland, Suidoos-Transvaal, ver in Noord. Weet wat hulle het al in die Sportpinaar reeks gespeel. Maar die Sportpinaar reeks was 'n voedingsbron vir die Currie-beker. Dit was nou voor Super Rugby en so. En al daai unies, Oos-Transvaal, al daai unies het geval. Hulle bestaan nie eens meer nie.
Dan is dit nie ook nou maar 'n rede van ons het die Vodacom Cup, onthou jy die Vodacom Cup gehad. En baie van die Vodacom Cup ouens het hulle gaan pad hierso by die klubspelers. Nou niemand trek meer klubspelers nie, want jy het nou streng jou onder 19, jou onder 21 en onder 20 het hulle ook nou weggevat. So jy het onder 19, onder 21, dan het jy jou Karibeker span en dan het jy jou senior span, jou URC span. Dis dit.
Ja.
So die klub ouens, Randfontein ouens, daai mense speel hulle harte uit. Maar vir wat? Net om jou 9 to 5 job op die game te gaan speel, jouself finansies moet doen, jy word nie geborg op 'n iets nie. Party van die ouens ry self na die game toe. Daar is nie geld nie. Maar nou gaan kyk jy op daai klein stadionkie nê wat dalk 4000 mense hou. Hy's propvol. Die mense is honger vir sulke tipe rugby, maar daar gebeur niks nie. Dit word nie ongeniet. Dit bly net op daai een punt en dit word dit heeltyd so sirkel.
Ja, jy is reg, Niels. Jy weet ek meen ek vat dit. Ek het baie jare weer Kobus, ek weet ook vir Roodepoort rugby gespeel. Ek meen Anton gespeel. Ek meen jy kan ons Zempas raar om jy kyk na ons Dries Marts. Jy kyk na ons Waal Bartman, Leon Bartman. Hulle almal kom van Roodepoort rugby klub af. Roodepoort rugby klub was op 'n stadium die klub. Ek meen hulle het die klubkampioenskap 'n paar keer gewen. Kyk na spanne soos Wonder. Jy kyk na spanne soos Union, Alberton, Pirates, ensovoorts. Daai klub strek baie swaar op die oomblik. Omdat daar nie blootstelling is vir hulle. Ek meen die Toyota 'n klubkampioenskap het weggeval. So ek weet daar is nie 'n vertoonvenster vir klubspelers om blootstelling te kry, om te laat hierdie scouts en coaches van die provinsiale spanne en die anders kan sien hel, die ou het potensiaal, daai het potensiaal, trek hulle deur. Jy weet, en so bou jy jou voeding rond. En jy stel hy ons stadig maar seker bloot aan groter rugby. En jy weet hulle praat van 'n diamond hieraf. Daar kan dalk 'n hele paar diamante daar uitkom, wie weet.
And that's something I miss about the Supersport Rugby Challenge. Was they tried to do what was done with the Vodacom Cup, but what I really appreciated was that it was held at club grounds most of the time, and it was like, okay, as a curtain raiser, we're going to have 2 club games for the Gold Cup. That instantly opened my eyes to how some of the club teams played, but also, it's a chance for those players to play and know they're going to be on TV. And on top of that, you have unions there because their players are playing. That can only be helpful in terms of scouts, and hopefully people can get spotted. But unfortunately, with COVID and everything, that sort of got tanked. But my hope is that something similar can come back, because I think it will really act as a good filter for club players to get, to get into provincial systems where possible.
Moya, yes. I mean, if you guys can remember, a couple of years ago, when, say for instance, those years Transvaal played against, does not matter which team, there was always 1 or 2 curtain raisers before.
Yes.
And most of the times it was clubs that played against each other. There, the clubs gets exposure. I mean, a club like Diggers. Diggers has got how many Springboks that they produce, and where they play. It's so sad. I mean, my two uncles, Yanni Barnard and Robbie Barnard, they both played for Diggers. They both played for Transvaal. And I mean, I played with a guy like Kevin de Klerk, and Saki Sauerman and those guys. It's just sad to see the tradition of having curtain raises before a major game. Be it Currie Cup, be it URC, be it whatever, has fallen away. Is so sad. And I mean, I think if you bring back the curtain raisers playing against each other, it will draw more crowds, big crowds to the ground.
True.
Which will obviously boost the coffers of the union. They can pay the players a better salary, and your coaches and your selectors of your own side can see these guys playing against each other. Instead of going on hearsay, this played well, that player played well in this game. They can see them first hand, and I just don't know why it's fallen away.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because a lot of the time, like now, where people are, we want the full stadium experience, etc. And people will also complain about, oh no, tickets are so expensive. What am I getting for the ticket? I'm like, well, if you had, like club curtain raiser games, you're essentially paying for 2 rugby games, a bunch of entertainment, and because there'll be the usual like stadium activations and things that they do as well. So to have all of that, you can make a day of it, and I think that'll be quite a good draw card, because you aren't feeling like, oh look, I'm paying for a ticket and it's literally just 2 hours and I'm out. Like, no, where you can spend 4 or 5 hours, even more, the better. Sure, there'll be some people who just prefer to come in for the main game, but still, it would be absolutely massive, I think, for everyone involved to get the clubs back into the stadiums.
Ja, en daar bietjie van hulle games 'n bietjie televised meer. Imagine jy stig 'n supersport kanaal net vir klub rugby en dalk miskien skole rugby, eerste span skole rugby. Want dis tog waar die grassroots is, dit waar alles vandaan moet kom, maar ons kry net die beginpunt en ons is al klaar hier in die middel. Elke ding het 'n begin en hy het 'n middel en 'n einde. Maar jy kan nie die begin ignoreer en dan net hier skiep na die middel toe nie.
Niels, ja, ek mens die fakt. En mooi, I mean, when I was at primary school and even at high school, I used to sell programs at Alice Park, the old Alice Park. Okay.
Yeah.
The games used to start at 10 o'clock in the morning. Then you got your primary schools, then you got a high school game, and then you got a club game, and then either a club game or your B side, because those days they had an A and B side. And the B side, Transvaal used to be called the Robokke. But in any case, and then you got the main game. So you basically at the stadium from say 9 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a whole day.
There we go.
I mean, your revenue from not only ticket sales, but also from your entertainment and your kiosk that sells food and booze and whatever, as well as your suite, is going to push your turnover up with I don't know how much. It's just going to draw more and more people back to the stadiums, and that's what we wanted at the end of the day. Because I mean, which player wants to play in a stadium that seats 60,000 people and there's only 4,000 people watching? That's not the way to. I mean, how can you give your best? Because crowd participation is part of it all, because that's what motivates. you'll play even better.
Dis nie net hier by ons nie, oom Eugene. Ek het daai Crusader Chiefs game van die Super Rugby ook gekyk. Daai stadion was nie eens half nie. Dis maar oral toe, die stadions raak leeg. Die ouens wag vir die groot toetse en dis wanneer hulle gaan kyk. Hulle wil nie meer hierdie, as nie sê klein games nie, maar so as nie 'n toets is nie, dan wil die mense nie meer gaan nie. Dis hier by ons by Loft, dis oral.
Ja, dis sad, Niels, dis baie sad. Want ek dink die mense verspoil weer deur supersport wat basies die geld uitsaai. Dan dink jy, hoekom moet ek stadion toe gaan waarin die gerief huis kan sit en ek kan dop en ek kan braai en ek kan doen wat ek wil.
Feite. Ja, is feite.
Weer al wat moet doen is sê, right, weet maak so topsport van SABC gemaak het op 'n stadion. Delayed transmission. Met ander woorde, dit word live uitgesaai, dit word na die tyd uitgesaai, na die game klaar is. Dan word die game uitgesaai. Dis dalk nog 'n ding wat 'n mens kan oorweeg. Ek weet nie.
Ja, op die oomblik met internet is 'n ou sport for choice. Ek meen baie keer is daar soveel rugby in die gang, jy weet nie eens wat jy wil kyk nie. Jy is letterlik sport for choice. Dit is rarig, nee.
Yeah, and I think also, what didn't help the cause as well was lockdown. Because people had, a year and a half? Yeah, like a year and a half of, if I'm watching sport, it's in front of the TV. For a lot of people, yes, there was that hunger to get back to having it in person. But for a lot of people as well, it was like, well, but my fridge is just here. And, I don't have to actually drive anywhere. And all these things. But I think as well, I'm liking that unions are trying to be creative in terms of the stadium experience and trying to get people back in. One thing that makes me wonder is, are unions trying to do, like I've noticed overseas, you can almost like purchase earphones or something in the stadium where you essentially get stadium commentary. So it might not be the same as the Supersport commentary, but you will have people commentating. So, you get that inside edge on what's going on. Like if it's like sometimes, before a ref has blown the whistle to say something, you can hear as well commentators like, wait, but that was a forward pass, or that was this, that was that.
Well, yes. That interactive experience, I think, is a very innovative idea, and it can work. But the thing is, you've got to be more creative to actually us back to the stadiums. I mean, if you look at your price of your season tickets nowadays. A lot of people does not want to spend that money to buy a season ticket. Because they think... correct.
But stadions verlosies is toe.
Ja, wel, ek meen, op die Vrystaatstadion, ek dink is daar miskien 2 losies wat oop is. Jy weet wat basies operate wanneer daar games is. Die res is allemaal toe. Ek meen, as jy kyk by Ellis Park, die touchdown restaurant, hoeveel mense gaan ons doen toe? Ek meen, dit is dinge wat groot impak het op jou omset op 'n stadion soos Ellis Park.
Ja nee, want jy moet dink net jou krag. Wel as jy 'n laat game het, daai spreiligte is nie cheap nie. Dis duisende rande om hulle aan te hou. En dan kry jy dit terug met 1000, 2000 mense wat daar is. Nee. Jy's in 'n verlies in jou tyd.
Jy is dood reg. Jy is 100% reg. Niels, en jy weet die hele ding is, jy weet ja, die URC en so aan, weet jy, Suid-Afrikaners nou weer blootstelling aan ander oorseese spanne. Jy weet in steede daarvan net weet jy gewone Karibieke rugby of en jy weet Welkom Cup of die oudheidse Lion beker of iets van die aard. En jy weet baie mense het gedink, weet hulle gaan baie meer mense lok in stadions toe. En dit is ongelukkig nie die geval nie. Ja, met jou local derbies, jy weet bulle teen WP beloftes of bulle teen WP jy weet van die Kaap, is altyd jy weet 'n basiese sell-out. En weet jy, jou kleiner unie soos die Cheetahs, ek meen daar sukkel om 5000 mense in 'n stadion om te kry met 'n game.
Ja, en Bloemfontein stadion is nog klein nog, wat hy hou, hier is 45.000, ek dink so daar rond, hulle is 'n bietjie minder is, hy is maar klein. Hulle kry hom vol in 'n Karibieke finaal, maar dis maar al.
Ja, wel kom dat ek dit so stel nou, ek meen die daai toets teen Portugal is op hy stadion, dan sal hy weer gepak wees. Maar ek meen dit is dieselfde met cricket. Niels, jammer nou om te praat oor cricket, maar ek meen as jy kyk na Wanderers, jy kyk na die Vrystaat stadion, cricket stadion. Ek meen hoeveel ouens gaan eintlik soontoe om te gaan cricket kyk. Hulle gaan hierdie one day games en so aan, ja, maar jou 4-dae games en so aan, daar's bitter min mense, bitter min. En ek meen, ja, jy weet, dis maar ongelukkig die situasie waar ons lewe, of die tye waar ons lewe, dat ek meen, dis dieselfde met rugby, jy weet, jy kan eerder voor 'n televisie skerm by die huis sit en in 'n one day game kyk, jy weet, het sy 20 of 50 bil per game, in steede daarvan om stadion toe te gaan.
Ja, julle moet seker nou maar oor die olifant in die huis praat, nee, olifant in die kamer, the elephant in the room, Sharks game wat op pad is. Jong mense, ek weet nie, as ek daai tyd het ek gesê met toe die Sharks gespeel het, ons daai was 'n game wat ons ver moes gewen het, en toe is dit 'n breek, en toe speel ons die Bulls, en toe, ja, daai game moes ons ook gewen het, toe is dit 'n breek, en ja, toe kry ons 'n bietjie pak op Ellis Park. Nou is dit weer 'n breek gewees en nou moet ons die Sharks gaan speel. Gaan ons spelers wat in die Lyman kamp is, gaan krappies en daai manne terug wees vir die Sharks, of gaan ons sonder hulle moet speel, want dan sien ek probleme.
Niels, ja, dis 'n baie interessant scenario. En ek dink ja, soos jy sê, jy weet, as daai manne nie terug is, gaan ons gaan sukkel. Nou, want die Sharks weet sonder die mense wat in die Springbok kamp toe is 'n redelike gedigte span. Hulle het goeie spelers. Maar weer eens, jy weet, dit lyk vir my amper asof die Sharks, daar is 'n amper lackadaisical attitude. Weet met Plumtree nie daar nie. Ja, jy weet die motivering en ek dink die dissipline ontbreek redelik groot in die Shark tank. Ja, Neil probeer sy bes, maar ek dink Neil is in diep kant ingegooi om van die 7's na 15 man rugby franchise toe te gaan en direkteur van rugby te bewees is nie maklik nie, hoor. Glo vir my, dit is ja, dis soos om van hoërskool direk in die Springbok kant te gaan.
En julle weet, You can go, Moya. You can go.
Yeah. I'd heard something quite interesting where Plumtree was basically saying, okay, you know what? Senior players are saying they want more freedom in that. That's fine, but I now expect them to take more responsibility. And I do wonder if part of where the issues have been coming from is that the senior players, when Sean Everett was around, had more freedom and had more of a say. And that both Neil Powell and John Plumtree have come in to say, listen, now it's very much you're going to do as you're told, and that is it. And that might be where some of the disconnect is coming through, is that, because with the exception of Etzebeth and and Werner Kok is constantly trying as well. What senior players from them have really been putting their hands up? It's not to say everyone's been playing badly, but considering the wealth of resources they have and the wealth of talent they have, what you'd want is everyone is playing so brilliantly because they know the next guy is a threat to their place. And they're constantly trying to say, hey, you know what, even if I'm given 20 minutes only, I'm going to make that the best 20 minutes anyone's ever seen. And the hope is that, the coach will now start thinking, oh, let's rotate because this person needs to start because look at how well they're doing.
Moya, yes. The thing is, and this is purely my observation. It seems like, when the Sharks run onto the park, it's a case of let's do what we need to do, to get us 80 minutes over. It's almost like, there's no determination to actually go out, fight for the game, and win it. They've come close to, in a lot of instances, they've come very close. But it seems like they lack that killer instinct.
Yeah.
Maar dit is met ons ook aan die gang. Op ruk, ons is warm en koud. Ek het nou nie die Bulls game gekyk die eerste helfte, ek het die tweede helfte gekyk. En ons foute het ons daai game uitgehou. Hulle het vir ons balle geruk daar op 10 meter van die doellyn af 2 keer in die 40 minute wat ek gekyk het. Wat hulle letterlik so kind weggevat het. Okay, daar was daai een met die Bull player het vir my gelyk bietjie op my genok het vorentoe, maar die ref het hom aangespeel en toe ons weer kyk, toe ons binne ons 22. So dis klein jakkeltjies. Dis daai klein dingetjies. As ons daai klein dingetjies net kan regkry. Ons is nie sleg nie, ek dink ons het baie verbeter. Ons is 'n afgeronde goeie span. Is net as die dinge net wil werk almal. Toe Noamba vir die dag gemaak het. As hy net genoeg support gehad het, was dit verseker 'n 3, want hulle verdedigingslyne was heeltemal nie in plek gewees nie. Ons het vir 'n dom gehardloop toe Noamba daai breek vat.
Yeah. I want to say, we really were our own worst enemy, especially in the second half of that Bulls game. The good news is, if we iron out those sorts of errors, we're winning. That is how we're going to win games, because, there were plays where it's just, you got that feeling that if this had come off, we would have been getting somewhere. But unfortunately, it's getting to that point in the season where, you can't, you can't live in the what ifs. We need that consistent performance, and consistently good performance to roll a lot of these teams, because now we've got a lot of teams that are above us on the log, who we need to beat.
And that for me, Moya, that's why I thought we were going to win this Bulls game, the second one. Because we were so close. We were cheated out of the first one. So
exactly.
For our confidence, that's the thing. We only need that big win. We need that big win because we're knocking on the door, but we just don't get that big win. So hopefully with the Sharks we get it, but then Yeah, will your confidence be boosted if you play a Sharks B team? I don't know, but we had a great Bull team, and we had them in our palms. We should have went for the kill, and that would be the turnaround for the season. But before the Bulls game, the point difference was between the first place and our place was 34 and 24. It's 10 points
Yeah.
that you have from number 1 to I think 12. It's still an open season,
True.
but we
True.
have to get that top 8 teams. If we play them, we must knock them off.
Exactly. Exactly. And look, I think in terms of our confidence, beating a Sharks team doesn't matter if they've got all their box or they don't have all their box. It is still a massive thing. Um, Especially because, you know, all you need is that win. You'll be playing against a team who will be desperate for a win, and that makes them incredibly dangerous. Even if, let's say, all their box are on rest, they still have people who have box caps but aren't in the current conversation. They still also have a lot of guys who will be looking to put their hands up to say, hey, I know this person's a current box, but I should be starting.
Yes, yeah.
So I feel if we can get that win, that will be massive for our confidence. Because then we can say, okay, we've also then managed to do better than last season, where we only won one game against local opposition. We can then say, hey, we've done it twice.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, the game against the Sharks, for me is an absolute must-win. It will obviously improve our position on the log, but also boost our confidence going forward. Yes, we said in the beginning of the season, we're shooting for top 8 and maybe top 4. So I think the Sharks game is a definite must-win game. The guys must just go there with the confidence and basically believe in their own abilities and make the best use of the opportunities they get.
Ek dink as ek reg onthou, sorry Moya, ek dink as ek reg onthou die heel laaste game wat ons speel is teen die Stormers, nee, dis ons tweede game teen die Stormers. So ons het nog 'n kans as ons die Sharks kan klop en ons kan die Stormers op daai laaste een en dan kan ons wegstap en sê weet jy wat, ons is verbeter op laas jaar teen die Suid-Afrikaanse oppositie.
Yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely, and I think it would be massive if we could beat both of them. That says we're back in it. That says the SA teams can't now sort of have that feeling of like, okay, look, we can rely on winning that game, and let's plan ahead to when we're playing against foreign teams. No, they will. They will hopefully put respect on our name.
Yes, like Jake White before the game, he said no, he's kind of the Lions can be dangerous, and then after the game he says no, they're not dangerous at all.
Yeah.
So you want to put fear in them. Like that time with Ackerman, we had that 17 or 19 winning game streak in Super Rugby against SA teams, undefeated. Yeah, if I can get that back anytime, I'll take it.
Oh yeah, no, it was massive, and I mean that's essentially what the Stormers have been doing, where they're that team where they know locally, like, cool, we will just keep racking up wins and racking up wins and racking up wins, and that's a good base to have, because then okay, that's what's it going to be? That's 6 games. That's 6 games you can rely on getting points from. You then know playing the European teams, there's a few where like, yeah, this is a one that we should take. There's others where, yes, it'll be a challenge, but that confidence builds from knowing that, domestically you are the top team.
And that's why in the beginning we said with those losses we're getting a bonus point, either one or two, and that is accumulating now to where we are. And we're still in strike distance. If we can get a 5-pointer out of the Sharks game, and just win 2 or 3 from there, you don't have to get a bonus point. We're in the top 8. We're in the top 8.
Exactly. Yeah, we need to make sure it gets done.
As I said earlier on, the guys must just go into the game against the Sharks with an absolute positive mindset, believe in their own abilities, and make use of each and every single opportunity they get. If they're within striking range of the poles and they get a penalty, go for it. Put points on the board. At the end of the day, whether you win by 10 or whether you win by 1, at the end of the day, it's a win. 4 points is better. 4 points is better than nothing. At the end of the day, yes, 5 points is always better. But take the 4 points, and each and every single time, if you can get 4 points, it will absolutely help you climb up the ladder.
Yep. No, absolutely.
Ja, as ons net die game ook kan speel en nie die scorebord nie. As jy voor is, bly voor. Moenie die scorebord gaan kyk nie. As jy in die situasie is van dat jy agter moet wees, hou dan die horlosie dop. Moenie dink jy het soveel tyd, want daai tyd raak op. Jy kan nie altyd bepaal gaan jy die bal in jou hand het nie. Jy kan nie 'n try score as jy nie bal besit het nie. En dis gewoonlik waar elke span, as jy voor is, in die laaste 20 minute begin jy die bal maar vir jouself hou. Jy begin die horlosie laat afloop, veral die laaste 10 minute. So jy moet nie in die posisie wees dat jy dan moet gaan desperate raak om daai bal te kry nie. Want dan kan jy maklike fout maak en dan hulle druk nog enetjie en jou gap is net groter. Jy wil nie met meer as 1-3 met 'n conversion agterloop 20 minute nog oor in die game nie. Jy moet in range wees om te sê, weet jy wat, 1-3 en ek convert hom, ons is gelyk en dan het ek nog tyd oor. Maar as jy met 8 punte of 10 punte of 11 punte moet chase in daai laaste 20 en jy is nie fiks genoeg nie, gaan jy dit nie maak nie. So, en ons moet net eers slaan en ons moet net aanhou. Ons moet nie die scoreboard kyk nie, ons moet net die game bly speel.
You're 100% correct. The thing is, and I think that is the downfall of a lot of sides. The last 20 minutes, they don't keep ball in hand. They do all these little kicks over the scrum, etc., box kicks and so on. You cannot score a try without the ball. So why do you want to give the ball to the opposition if you've got it in your hands? If you've got the ball in your hands, keep it. Even if you go through 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 9, 12 phases, it does not matter. Okay, you're retaining possession, and you're tiring your opposition because they got to keep on defending. As I say, gaps will appear, and then you utilize it. As I say, without the ball, there can be a gap as big as a barn, and you can't utilize it because you haven't got the ball.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Kan ek julle op 'n spot sit, gaan ons 'n prediction maak oor die game. Ek sal my hand hier op 'n blok wil sit en ek dink ons gaan hom vat, maar close. Ek dink nie met meer as 4 punte nie.
Yeah, I'm thinking by 5 tops.
Okay, I'm going to be the way out one here. I'll say a try and a conversion will be the gap between the two sides.
Ek hoop oom is reg. Ons julle gaan ons maar 'n bietjie afsluit. Ek sien ons het oor 'n uur gestaan, 'n uur met 'n kwart. Maar if you kindly want to say just some short message for Arno, I would appreciate it. And I'll send the link when it's up to Elma, and then she can just give it to her brother, and maybe he can see there in hospital.
Yeah, I can go first, I think, if that's okay.
It's fine.
Cool. Yeah, just want to say to Arno, you've gone through something that most people wouldn't even dream of. But the beautiful thing is that you're still there, you're still fighting, and really, it's something that is just beyond inspiring. And the good thing is as well is that you've got your supporters. And your supporters really, really do love you, and they really are there. And it sometimes, even with modern medicine, it's heart that brings people through. And that heart and that faith that you're showing, and that your loved ones are showing, is really, it's really going to get you through this. And yeah, really, we just hope and pray that you'll make a speedy recovery.
Arno, net 'n vinnige boodskapie vir jou. Jy's 'n eyster. Om so lank te beklei en vas te byt en deur alles waar jy gaan. Dit sit nie in enigiemand se broek om daardeur te gaan nie, en glo vir my, ek wens dit aan geen mens toe nie. Maar jy wys die veggees wat daar verwag word van ons. En ek wil net vir jou sê, ons draai op in gebed, en ons hoop, bid en vertrou dat die Here sy helende hand oor jou sal hou, en dat jy op die einde van die dag daar sal uitstap, en baie beter vorentoe sal gaan, en geniet jou rugby boks game, my maat.
Hallo Arno. Nou net vir jou sê, jy inspireer ons almal. Dankie dat jy so veg, en jy moet nog harder veg, nee, dat jy uit daai hospitaalbed kan kom. Daar's vir jou treie wat wag al by JP hulle. Daar's baie mense wat jy wil sien op die park. En dan kan jy bietjie by mamma en pappa hoor, dan kan jy bietjie hier saam met ons kom rugby gesels eendag. Maar word gou gesond, word bitter gou gesond, asseblief. En ons almal dink aan jou, en daar's baie mense, jy ken ons nie eers nie, maar ons dink aan jou, ons bid vir jou. Sterkte ou klein man. En jy gaan nog baie mense inspireer met jou storie. Goed gaan.